Hey everyone. Today we got the Chorale and Diverti banner on the global server. So first time actual dual NV banner. I will not pull for either of them because both of them are technically speaking very bad. Chorale way worse than Diverti. Diverti has some use. We'll get to Diverti tomorrow though. It's a little bit tricky to do two reviews on a single day. I will prepare the Diverti review later today. I do have a few errands to run still, so yeah. But yeah, the Diverti review will be coming at the usual time tomorrow, so 5 p.m. Central European Standard Time or summertime, meaning it's pretty much on the same time slot as of this video, but 24 hours from now. Alright, so today let's check out Chorale. The unit on the screen should be telling more than enough about the state of him. So yeah, the overview is in his base form he is a quote-unquote breaker, but I wouldn't take this too seriously because you will see why in a second. In his Brave Shift, which has a cool idle animation, I'll give him that. He's a physical dark chainer. You can use him as a limit burst chainer, but that's not advised, and you will see why in a minute or two as well. So let's check out the base abilities, and here's the reason why breaker was in quotes. Cutting punishment at the bottom, as you can see, it's an 80% break. I mean, come on, 80%, really? We are in the Near Vision era already, and 80% would not even have cut it in the 7-star era with units such as Vaughn, for example. Seek of Freedom Vaughn, that is. So he's old already. His modifiers, they aren't the best. 64x, it sounds okay, but it's not, to be honest. We've got 80x and better already. And yeah, the Demon Killer buff he can cast on himself at 100%, it's laughable. We have 7-star units that do way better than this. Delta Sakura, for example. Regina, for example. They all do things better than him. Crown Prince Noctis as well, so it's an insult for a Neo Vision unit to be honest. And his 85x Bolting Strike, Fatal Punishment, I don't know. Is this some kind of bad joke? He's bad. In the base form, as you can see. Passives, he is a full true double-handed unit, but he gains the 100x chain modifier increase, which is okay. I like this, so you can actually make him a 6x cap true double-hand unit, but it's not worth it, and you will see why in a minute too in the damage comparison. The limit burst, it's an 87 defense break, which is okay, but it's only 2 turns, and the damage the ability deals is kind of eh. I think the upside or the best thing about this LB is that it also imperils dark and light by 130%. But again, only 2 turns. We've got units that do better than this. Namely Starlight Elena, for example. The Brave Shift, that's what things get a little bit more interesting. The only real interesting part here is Shadow Whip Spiral, which is a total 200x modifier attack once you stack it up twice. It deals the maximum amount of damage. It also amplifies his dark physical and magical damage, although he's only physical damage DPS, by 20%. We got Venera, who can amp this up to a total of 25%. But yeah, you gotta have to use his cooldown, Drowning Punishment, to actually give him 300% attack buff. Again, only 100% aquatic and human killer, which I think is still bad, but so be it. And his Grandest Dark Knight's Whip is at 250x to 1 enemy at Bolting Strike frames. It's better, it's okay, but still, yeah, it's not really the best of all. The passives are pretty much the same, nothing to add here. And his limit burst is a 100x 27 hits Protector's Bayonet limit burst, so he will chain with someone like SOS Lightning, for example. She also has Protector's Bayonet frames. Still, I did the math, his LB isn't worth it. It's technically speaking a little bit better than his chaining, but fitting in 27 hits on Protector's Bayonet when you're not using SOS Lightning in your physical teams, yeah, that's gonna be hard. Let's move on to the Trustmaster and Super Trustmaster. His Trustmaster, honestly, is the best thing about him. So it's 20% lightning, water, light, and dark resistance, plus 50% physical, magical, demon killer. It's a good Trustmaster in general, not only because it has demon killer. I mean, 50% physical, magical, demon killer on its own is already a good Trustmaster, but adding the resistance on top of it makes this a very good Trustmaster reward, and also quite of slot efficient. You do want, ideally speaking, some form of resistance for Dark Vision's Resistance Tetris or Trials Tetris as well. So it's always much appreciated. His Super Trustmaster is a two-handed whip at 185 attack and 105 variance up to 1.55 variance. And the whip is strictly dark element. The whip itself has the highest amount of attack in the game. The next best thing would be Jaego's STMR at 176, but her whip has no element. One of the cons of the STMR is that it's a whip and it's locked to dark. Both I don't think are worth chasing this STMR in general. Let's move on to the Vision card. Let me put this out right off the way. It's a 110 attack Vision card with 50% LB damage. It's great. That I really like about it. On the other hand, it's limited to whips. And that's bad, because who uses whips these days? We don't even have a whip in peril yet. So, there's no point in using whips here. And because of all of that, you will probably never end up using the Vision card at all. Even though it's limited to FFBE units, which is not a con or a bad thing per se anymore, but still, the whip requirement makes this kind of bad. So let's check the damage calculations. As per usual, we are looking at a Dark Vision's boss. This time Dragon with 22.5k defense, 60% passive defense and 60% elemental resistance. And the team has varying amounts of killers, Dragon killer in this particular case, depending on what the best in slot allows for and what the builder says makes the most sense, and an additional 150% killer buff to streamline this with our magic DPS. We have looked at last week or the prior weeks and are going to look at tomorrow with Diverti. So we also got a Sword Imperial 25% and a 10% Dagger Imperial for the Dane. That is coming from Cacteria, obviously. Undead, 90% defense break, 300% attack buff and 300% LB buff. And yes, I know the Dane's STMR is still broken, but let's look at this from a hypothetical case where it's actually working for once. And yeah, the amplifications, no changes. The only thing you have to keep in mind, since we are using Venera, Chorale has 76% total amplification because she can gain 25% dark amplification compared to Noctis's 20% light amplification from his own skill. If we didn't use Venera, we'd only have 87% defense break and 74% amplification for Chorale. But regarding the break, whether it's 87% break or 90% break, it just scales down equally for every DPS. So it's a fair assumption to just assume you're using Venera. Alright, so here are the builds. The first two ones, you will see the true double hand build for Chorale. And on the bottom, you see the true dual wield build for Chorale. It's not as bad as it gets, as you can see. And yeah, what I just realized is that I forgot to do a what's it called, 6x chain cap. So Chorale is 5x capping on this screen, but you can just substitute Warlord Godlegs for something else, and not the Guardian of Light Riku. You can substitute that for Indestructible Light and you'll be done with it too. So the rest of the team, fairly standard stuff, nothing too surprising. Here's the second part of the team with Edward Elric, last gen, and Zidane. Now if you're wondering why I used Demon Killer stuff on last gen, pretty easy reasoning. If I'm using last gen on a Dragon boss, he does have an unfair advantage over the rest of the team, because you can easily put on Dream of the Faith and GF extension, and thus he will deal higher damage than the Elric brothers. While this is true, always true for the case of dragons, he will deal less damage than the Elric brothers on every single other fight. So, and to make this as unfair to the last gens as it is to the rest of the team, I gave them Demon Killing. Alright, so this is the damage comparison. As you can see, Chorale, he's not doing fairly well, right? 444 million on a win team, that is, with true dual wield compared to true double hand. The true dual wield build is still better, even if you take into account his limit burst, but comparing this to the rest of these contestants, it's really bad. So no matter how you build Chorale, he's the worst. He is, technically speaking, a 7-star unit, released in the midst of Neovision power creep with Zidane and Sephiroth coming up in about a month or two, or about a month I should actually say. So yeah, he's not really that good. But on the other hand, is it fair to compare a Chainer versus LB finishers? Well, that's why I included a true dual wield LB in this, but yeah, still bad. There's nothing else to say about this. So let's move on. So how does he fare in the meta? Chorale is practically a 7-star unit with 80% breaks, and at 1 of 87 break on his LB. His damage compared to the others is super low, brings us back to the Neovision Awakened Tifa era. I mean, his sustained damage isn't that bad, all things considered, for trials in particular, but even for trials, you would just bring your best burst DPS and just blast the boss a couple of times and you'll be done a lot faster than with Chorale. The buffs of his are at 7-star values pretty much, 100%, nobody's going to take this seriously in any case. And it's even worse than the old 7-star rarity, so at the end of all things, Chorale is going to be the troll NV pool of everyone going forward, and he has no place in the meta whatsoever. So yep, should you pull? I guess the answer is fairly straightforward. No, skip him. And what I'll be doing is, whenever I off-banner Chorale, I will get his STMR every single time and then shard him immediately. I don't want Chorale, he has absolutely no place in my teams. And EX plus 1ing or plus 2ing him or even EX plus 3ing him, it's the most useless thing you can do from my point of view. So he's the best Transcendent Pearl fodder you can get. And with that, we are done with the unit review for today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, even though the unit is kind of bad, but we do have a few duds here and there throughout the lifespan of FFBE, so it's expected. Not everyone can be Zidane levels of good. With that said, have a nice Thursday evening and see you tomorrow for the Diverti review. Bye bye.